Good morning. It's another beautiful day here in paradise. And so, what's new this morning, huh? Well, let's see here. How about this one? There's planted the spray for coqui frogs with citric acid from helicopters over to Waimanalo on Oahu. Now they have, I don't know, I think it's about 10 acres over there that's infested with coqui frogs. They've come up with 500 of them so far, and now they're going to go in with helicopters, and we're going to spend tax money to spray the area. I'd kind of like to know, I got 500 coqui frogs living behind my shed over here. You want to find 500 coqui frogs, and no problem in Puna. The whole thing seems a bit ridiculous to me. Last time some of them got over to Maui, it was the same thing. Oh no, coqui frogs, spray for them, Well, Puna here is pretty much the center of the problem. That's where they first came into the state. The urban legend, or whatever you want to call it, around them is that they came in a load of Dracaena cuttings brought in from Puerto Rico for the houseplant industry, and that the frogs were in the bundles and came loose. It's probably true. Anyway, we're ground zero here. And aside from the fact that, hey, I pay taxes just like everybody else in this state who pays taxes, and, why does Waimanalo rate control where Puna's been abandoned? It's like, yeah, we're just a bunch of, artists, hippies, bikers, and natives down here. We don't count? Is that what it's all about? It seems to be illogical. Let's say, if we're talking about a disease in the body, that if you have a cancer and it's, right in one particular location, as it starts to spread outward, we attack the cancer at the core. We cut it out, we try to kill it with chemotherapy or radiation or something, but we attack the cancer at the core. We don't look at the spread and just try to burn it off at the periphery or to keep it where it's at. That's basically the state's control policy on coqui frogs. Puna's completely infested. Eventually the big island, except for maybe the very driest areas and the highest areas, will be completely infested. I'm just waiting for the day that maybe there's more money over in Kona and they complain about the frogs and they start spraying Kona. You work with the center of the problem and then you work from there outward. You don't work at the periphery, and just try to burn it off and leave the core. That's what they've done. By now, because they let it go, it's really serious spread over here. But it just seems right that they're going to worry about Waimanalo and frogs, that we should be getting some sort of address from the state over here too. Even if they want to subsidize my citric acid, I prefer they come over Puna with helicopters too and take care of this frog issue. But anyway, just don't seem right. Anybody living here in Puna who can't stand the sound of the frogs, or you're in Hilo and you can't stand the sound of those frogs, contact your representatives. I just sent Joy Sanaventura the email this morning asking her, why doesn't my money count? We pay taxes too, Yeah, so that one's kind of new. And, the other one, and boy, I don't know about this one. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. There is a possible plan for releasing sterilized male mosquitoes over here to remove the mosquito populations on the islands. Now, initially, this whole thing had been just for the ones that carry around avian malaria, so they were working with mosquitoes that will attack birds. It was a program to use the genetically engineered sterile male mosquitoes there, but now the word seems to be about all mosquitoes here. I know the Aedes, the Asian tiger that carries dengue fever whenever we get a case of it here, is a real bugger. And there were no mosquitoes native to the islands of Hawaii. Okay, so it's not like removing these things is going to disrupt our environment or ecology. No, it doesn't. The problem is that what they're doing is they're using I guess it's a genetically engineered bacteria that sterilizes the male mosquitoes. So they take these GMO mosquitoes and they release them into the environments by the millions and the billions, so that they start breeding with the local population. And of course they're sterile, so they produce no offspring. So gradually mosquito populations die away. I'd love to see it personally, man. I do not see any health risks or any environmental dangers in what they're trying to do. It's not likely that there's any problem with this. But, you know, I know it's a guy who produces garden videos that, at least on this island, all you got to do is say genetic engineering, and the peasants are storming the castle with pitchforks and torches. Yeah, it's like the Salem witch trials. GMO. Yeah. It's I have problems with genetic engineering firms myself. That's for real. But it's an ethical thing. Yeah, it's an ethical thing. I don't like the way they do business. I don't like their business practices. That's not necessarily all of them, but it's some of the major ones, and so that's my major problem. The other is, of course, trans-species type engineering, where they begin to insert things that could never have happened, period, in nature. Some of it gets pretty scary. In the case of this mosquito, I don't really see a serious problem here. They're asking for public comment on this. I heard that in the news, and I do believe the talking head shot an address or a website or something by, but it went by me too fast. I did not catch it. I haven't heard it again, and on trying to Google it, I can't find any way to really contact the state about this program. I would like to give them my 2 cents worth and say, yes, please take care of it. For instance, I was here on this property before the Aedes mosquito got to be as bad as it is. It was nice. Yeah, it was real nice. And otherwise, what else is new? Well, I suppose many of you have probably looked at your IRAs and your 401ks lately. That's definitely new. There's a lot of factors involved in all of that. Much of it is just knee-jerk. Everybody's worried about the situation today, and nobody wants to lose their money, and so people have been harvesting profits because there was a long bull market here to draw profits from. Right now, though, because on the financials that Amazon released stating that the business had declined in this last quarter, boy, they trounced on Amazon, which of course is a stock I'm heavy on, so that was expensive for me that they did that, although the rebound is now occurring, and the rebound might be in steps and stages. It probably will be, in fact, because it's a bear market, but it is showing signs of promise that they beat Amazon down further than made any good common sense. Once things start selling, people get scared, and so they go, oh my God, I got to get rid of the stock, and they sell it. It's as if it won't be there tomorrow or the next day. I watched it going down, and I had bought and sold it several times during the course of the pandemic. This time around, which was the biggest plunge, I did not. I held. And so I've still got it, and it's hooking back up again. And it does that. They're companies, When you're invested in companies, you don't really worry too much if the companies you're invested in are good. They will react to bad news now and then. And, right now we got a major mass of bad news. Inflation, war, disease. Yeah, there's a lot of problems at the moment. It tends to beat things down. But when you have selected good companies, they are businesses, and they're still in business. And they will continue, most likely, to be in business if the picks were good. And so, there's a certain amount of fickle and flakiness when it comes to the evaluations in the market. But, it's not the same as the cryptocurrency that I have some people here that keep chiming in about crypto for some reason, like they think I'm interested in this stuff, which I am not. Okay, not at all. 40 years ago or so, I was into currency trading. Okay, I did currency trading, and I worked in Canadian dollars, U.S. dollars, and euros. But what I found about it is that it takes too much attention. It's like the yen goes up, 10 cents against the dollar, and so you make your money right in there by trading things. And you do this day after day, hour after hour, because currencies are always doing this stuff. And one against the other can be played, and you can make money that way. It's possible. Now, I understand currency trading, sort of, that is. That I see how people do it, why they do it. It's way too active for me. I'm in the garden, Yeah, I'm painting the house. I got something else to do. I haven't got the time to sit there and watch, currency flowing backwards and forwards against one type and another. Plus, maybe some people believe this, and that there's probably a whole lot of the rest of you that wouldn't believe it at all. But I actually have ethics. I have ethics. When it comes to investing, I definitely use ethics. And so there's things I consider to be good practices not so good, and so on. And, when it comes to investing, I invest in companies. I buy companies is what I do. And it's because I have a fairly good sense of business, and I think I understand where things are going, and who might be there, and so on. One of my best examples was Amazon. I hate shopping. When they started moving from being a bookstore to an online retailer, I went, yes, this is for me. It's the wave of the future. And so I was right. Well, I was right. But because I liked them so much, when they sank this last week, I lost a lot of money. But I will gain that back again, because Amazon is not staying down. It's a company. It's a good company. And so it was momentary. It had to do with a bad business report for the period. So if you're into stocks like that, and then you see these slumps coming, if you panic and say, oh my God, the value is falling out of my stuff, I'm losing money. Well, if you panic, it depends. If you're there ahead of the game and you sell, and then you turn around, hold that cash, and put it back into the market when you think the stock's hit the bottom, well, you're going to make a lot of money by doing that, all right? That's where I make my greatest profits ordinarily, is contrarian investing. But by and large, like I said, these are companies. My picks are good companies, and so they'll be fine. Yeah, I don't need the money right now anyway. Now, if I was in a situation where that money was important to me, I'd probably be doing some things to help prevent some of this rise and fall that's going on. But it's more of a problem for me in the aspirin bottle. It's a headache. That's all it is. It's not important. But on the other hand, as I said, I was talking about currency trading. Then, of course, there was the plunge in Bitcoin. And this is kind of where I get to talking about investing in ethics. There's a lot of business out there that people can put money onto that it's questionable as far as whether you really want to invest in that or not. I'm heavily invested, for instance, in commercial spaceflight at the moment. But a lot of the people that are commercial spaceflight suppliers for the materials, parts, goods, engines, and so on. Well, they also happen to be military-industrial complex suppliers of material for warfare, too. You know, it's not just peacetime stuff. There's a lot of Pentagon and DARPA stuff involved in all of that, too. So there's one, for instance, where you really can't pull it apart. If you're invested in it, you're invested in the Javelin missiles that went to Ukraine. I don't know whether you consider that be a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes I wish that the state of Hawaii would contact the feds for help with the coqui frogs in Puna. They could send us some of those switchblade drones, right? Yeah, send them out there into the woods and oh, there's one. Yeah. Right. Let's invest in Javelin missiles for frog control here. Could be fun. Anyway, so you see that the Bitcoin thing dropped. I have, honestly, I haven't even figured out what this thing is all about. Mostly it seems to be driven on a social media thing that people say, oh man, Bitcoin will make money, hedge against the dollar, which of course it didn't hedge against the dollar, did it? No, it fell to zero and the dollar is going up at the moment. So most of the things that have been said about this as an investment are bogus. I may be wrong, but to me it smells of a classic pyramid scheme. That's what I see. It looks like any old pyramid scheme like I've ever seen in my life. You know, people get on, they start talking about it. Yeah, you got to get rich, get involved now. You know, all kind of social media around this stuff, you know, and it drives it. And so people get excited and they go, oh, my buddy made a lot of money with this, you know. And so they all dive in and they start to buy the stuff, you know. Well, in a pyramid scheme, what happens is the first guy's there and the first guy's out win. Everybody else pays the bill. And right now, if you're involved in Bitcoin, they are probably paying the bill. As I said, I have ethics of investing, and Bitcoin does not at all even come close to anything that I consider to be ethical or good karma. You know, it's not that if you're not worried about what you're doing with your money, you're using a dollar bill or a euro or a Visa card, which is, that's digital currency, all right, a Visa card. It ain't a dollar bill anymore. You know, Bitcoin is used to finance gun running. It's used to finance drug transactions. It's used to finance hitmen and all sorts of other very nasty dark web types of criminal activity that I am not involved in and do not wish to support, you know. Well, otherwise, it looks like the rain has let up some over here, and it poured for about 3 weeks, but things are back to pretty much normal. I'm able to get around to power washing the roof. I bought some new tips for my power washer because I blew one of them up and then blew the other one over the house somewhere when I didn't lock it in right. I pulled the trigger. Boom! Never found it. Yeah, well, the corn's ripe. I am looking around for a recipe for making the seasoning that they use on elote in Mexico. I had some around here. It was commercially produced. It's gone now. I have a taste for it, so I'm going to have to figure out how to mix it myself. It doesn't seem to be available here. Yeah. And then I'm thinking about where I'm going to put my watermelon plants. That's something I have to go out there next. Wander around the garden and get that one figured out. I need a nice weed-free area. We'll find some place. I might be planting watermelons today. That might be new. Yeah. All right, folks. That's all that's new from this old guy. So, aloha, y'all. Hang loose and you have a great weekend.